Hey everyone, it is the second Wednesday of the month of June, and that means it's time for my monthly Budget MTG video series. In this series, I present you guys with a budget build of mine in either standard or modern. It's been standard for a while, but next month it will be modern for the first time in, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. But this month we're doing standard again. And these are budget builds that are intended to be taken to like your Friday Night Magic and be fairly competitive there. And, you know, they're usually sort of rogue decks, off the beaten path strategies and things like that, things that aren't really being played a whole lot of right now in whatever format it is. In this case, it is standard. And this deck is a standard Temur Superfriends deck. You can call it Rug Superfriends if you prefer that. But because Sarkhan's in it, I went with Temur because of the colors that he's from Khan's block, and he has those colors. And the deck tries to make use of planeswalkers that nobody's really playing right now. Obviously, this is a budget series. We can't be throwing Chandra Flamecaller and Obnixilis could probably fit into the deck, but he's not in the right colors. The expensive planeswalkers aren't in this deck. This is a deck filled with powerful. Most planeswalkers, right, are powerful, filled with powerful planeswalkers, but who are underplayed and who are right now relatively cheap. Planeswalker strategies right now are very popular in Standard, but most of them revolve around Sorin or Chandra Flamecaller, and this deck instead revolves around, largely our big win condition is Sarkhan, but Arlinn Kord, Jace, and Kiora, Master of the Depths, all do it as well. And Sarkhan's the main reason I wanted to build this deck. He's stupid powerful. He's a crazy powerful planeswalker. He protects himself with the Flying Dragon. He can draw you cards, fix your mana, ramp you. He can do all of these things. His ultimate's pretty irrelevant, although occasionally I guess it could come up. I haven't had it come up yet. But he's very powerful, and he doesn't see play anywhere. So I wanted to try to remedy that. And then I looked at the other planeswalkers and the colors, and I saw Jace doesn't really see play anywhere. He's not really a win condition for the deck so much as a way to help us, gain card advantage and gain control of the game. Because if you can stick a Jace, like on turn 5, bounce their big creature, and then play Sarkhan the next turn and make a dragon, your opponent's going to have a really hard time getting ahead. Arlinn Kord can also win you the game by giving you dragons and making your whole team have trample and things like that. So those are ways she can win. And then Kiora is sort of another utility planeswalker who can help us ramp even more if we need to. She can make it, if you play her on turn 3, which is popular in this deck, she can make it very easy to play Sarkhan or Jace on turn 4. And she can also draw us into our other win conditions. She unfortunately can't hit planeswalkers. I toyed around with the idea of running 3 Arlinn Kords instead of her, and that may be right. But for this version of the deck does have Kiora in it. And so the deck also runs the 3 Oaths in its colors. None of them, other than the Oath of Nissa, are really seeing play right now, but this deck takes pretty good advantage of all of them. We have Oath of Nissa, which is, like I said, the popular one. It can dig us to a planeswalker, it can dig us to a land we need, it can dig us to a creature. It can hit everything in our deck but our other Oaths. And she can also make it, her text, which is trinket text for most decks, is relevant because she can make it so that I can pay whatever I want for Sarkhan or for Arlinn Kord. Sarkhan's usually the one it comes up with the most, in addition to helping you draw cards and so forth. We have Oath of Chandra, which is a decent, solid removal spell in this deck. But on top of that, it can also help us kill our opponent because we do run 8 planeswalkers, and she's probably, in an average game, if we play Oath of Chandra on turn 2, it'll probably do 4 damage to our opponent as well, and that's some pretty good value for 2 mana in the early going. Take down a creature and do 4 damage is something you would take a lot of. And then we have Oath of Jace. It's probably the worst of the 3, but it does dig us to our walkers, digs us to our removal if we need it. And the scry effect's not irrelevant either. Even if you're only scrying 1 every upkeep, that's a pretty solid effect. So we make full use of the Oaths as much as we can. We obviously don't have the white one in here because we don't have any white in the deck. And so it's definitely a planeswalker deck. And in addition to, the planeswalkery parts, which is what we've discussed so far, the deck also runs, solid removal in the format, like 3, if I could enlarge it, there we go, 3 fiery impulses. It's just a good removal spell against a lot of the aggro decks out there. And we also have some ramp. This deck can do some powerful stuff that no one's really doing in Standard right now for the most part. Most ramp decks right now are, they're taking turn 3 and 4 off to cast like a huge ramp spell and then on turn 6 or 7 play a big spell. But this deck can just go Leaf Gilder turn 2, Thunderbreak Regent turn 3, which is not a lot of fun for someone to deal with, or Leaf Gilder turn 2, Arlen Cord turn 3, which is not easy for people to deal with. That's one of the powerful things this deck can do, just early ramp, like the old school style of ramp. So we run 4 Deathcap Cultivators, who actually does get Delirium decently often in this deck. Cards go in the graveyard, especially like our enchantments go in if we play multiples. Kiora throws cards in the graveyard. Oath of Jace throws cards in our graveyard. So he sometimes is not only a mana dork, but can then trade for their best creature. You know, their that 2/3 guy with Vigilance who becomes a 4/5 in the later game. If he can trade for that, he feels pretty good about it. And Leaf Gilder's, you know, not quite as good, but she can get the job done. Deathcap Cultivator also has sort of the nice bonus of if I don't have one of my other colors with Radiant Flames, which is in the deck, which is what I'm going to talk about next, I can use it for black to still get 3 damage done. Now, Radiant Flames does have the downside of killing our ramp creatures. So that is kind of a problem. Sometimes I slow roll my ramp creatures. If I don't have a hand that can drop like turn 4 Thunderbreak or Kiora, I slow roll my ramp creatures and then just, especially against mono white humans, and then on turn 3 or 4, just Radiant Flames and get a 3-for-1 and then maybe play Leaf Gilder or Deathcap Cultivator. Then we have another win condition who's not a Planeswalker at all, and in some matchups he'll just get the job done for you, and he is Thunderbreak Regent. He's a strong card that's not being played a whole lot right now in Standard, which is good because he's cheap because of that. I toyed with Pia and Karan Nalaar, but in a format with Radiant Flames and in a deck with Radiant Flames, I'd rather have something that survives it. So it does die to Languish. That is a weakness of its. But it also has some nice synergy with Sarkhan because Sarkhan makes dragons, and this has dragon synergies where if one of my dragons becomes a target of something, it does 3 damage to the controller. So that is the deck itself. Let's talk about the mana real quick. The mana is a little tricky. That's where the most money for this deck comes from, at least on Magic Online. Sarkhan and Arlen Cord are pretty cheap on Magic Online, but this deck should still be relatively cheap. You can see the price for the deck in the title for the video, and if you go to the tappedout.net link in the description, you'll see exactly what the deck costs. But the mana is also sort of expensive. And the mana, you know, there's some sweet creature lands in Standard right now, and they can provide us with other ways to win. Like against some control decks, we don't have a great chance of resolving a Planeswalker as long as they're untapped, but we can keep activating our Lumbering Falls every turn and attacking them. It has hexproof. We know they can't kill it. We just keep hitting them for 3 while they sort of, you know, they're drawing cards, they're playing, you know, Painful Truths and stuff like that. And we just keep attacking them, waiting for them to tap out, and then we can try to play one of our bigger things. We also have Wandering Fumarole, who is also very good. Not quite as good against control decks, but it's still a good card to have. And then we have 2 Cinderglades, just, you know, to have a red-green source. And we have 2 Sheevan Reefs for a red-blue source. And then 4 Yavimaya Coasts. Green is sort of the base of the deck. We want green to be able to help ramp us. We also want green to help us play Oath of Nissa, which also helps us find lands, etc. So, but red is the next common color, followed by blue, who is last. So that's the main board. We'll talk about the sideboard real quick. Let's sort this by converted mana cost instead of by color. So we have 2 Dispels. We side those in against control decks. You know, they're going to be trying to negate our Planeswalkers, and we can counter them. We have Rending Volley. It's great against mono white humans. It's great against Dragonlord Ojutai. It's great in a lot of matchups. So it's a great card to have in the sideboard. We have Disperses. They're in there in large part because our deck has an incredibly difficult time dealing with Ormondal in any other way. I mean, we can keep creatures dead, but if our opponent finds a way to go wide, Disperse is there to deal with Ormondal. It's also not bad against opposing Planeswalkers or against opposing creatures that the opponent taps 5 or 6 mana for that we can then disperse. It's not bad against Dragonlord Ojutai, for example, when it's attacking. We have Negates for also against control decks, so we can counter their Board Sweepers or their, not Hero's Downfall, Ruinous Path, things like that. We have 2 Roasts for siding in against those freaking, I cannot remember its name ever, the one in a green mana 2/3 who becomes a 4/5 when you have 6 or more lands. That's what Roast is for. It's also good against Kalitas, Goblin Dark Dwellers. There's just creatures in the format that Fiery Impulse can't deal with. We have a 4th Radiant Flames. We want to side that in against mono white humans, basically against no one else. And then we have 3 Root Outs. They are there for dealing with Goggles. They're also there for dealing with some other decks that are sort of popular right now that use Thopter Spy Network. They kill Hedron Archives, which people play, which is usually also in the Goggles deck, but also in the other red-green ramp decks. There's something else that it kills that's just not coming to me at the moment, an enchantment that people play. Cryptolith Rite blows that up. So there's several things in the format that we can blow up with that, and it's flexible. Instead of just blowing up an artifact or enchantment, an artifact or or just an enchantment, like Smash to Smithereens can, which I had in the sideboard at one point. This allows me to sort of fill 3 sideboard slots with like 4 or 5 cards worth of stuff, plus the Investigate's not irrelevant. So this deck, I've been playing with it. It is fairly strong. It does a solid job in Standard right now. I will play 5 matches with it in a Standard League, and you'll see, hopefully, that the deck can sort of rumble with the big boys with the Tier 1 decks and put up a decent showing there. So that's what you'll see after this video if you choose to. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you think this deck is cool. Leave some comments if you have advice about the video or anything else you want to, about the deck rather, anything else you want to say. And if you want to make sure you get a sweet budget deck every second Wednesday of every month, you know, and you're aware that when it's been posted, make sure to also click the subscribe button below. Thanks for watching.